The new Minister of Electricity says he will employ a hands-on approach to get to the bottom of load shedding. Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says as an engineer and project manager, he will be on the ground at affected Eskom power plants. This as the country continues to buckle under the strain of the worst bouts of power cuts in recent months. Ramokgopa addressed the media shortly after being sworn in at Turnhazen in Cape Town last night. Before we talk to energy expert Adil Nchabeleng, let's take a listen at what he said.
This is one of the few occasions you'll find me wearing a suit. I had to wear this because I'm coming. No, you are on the ground. Project managers are on the ground. I don't get to only be explained about the problem. I need to experience the problem. What's going to help me is that I'm an engineer. Engineers are trained to resolve problems. So this is my forte. The more technically complex it looks, the more impossible it looks, the greater my appetite. So this is something I'm ready for the fight. Of course, working with the collective of the players. The appointment of an electricity minister doesn't resolve load shedding. The actions of the electricity minister working with the player stakeholders resolve load shedding. It's an important point to be made.
Let's introduce into the conversation energy expert Adil Nchabeleng. Adil, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So the electricity minister says this is right up his alley. Did he hit all the right notes for you?
In terms of what he was explaining of the diagnosis of the problem, yes, he is one of the most, I think, few within the ANC who is passionate enough to understand the issues of infrastructure. On electricity, he's not much, really versed in terms of really the nuts and bolts, but he is well trained in terms of understanding the overall engineering space. So, with that capacity and skill, hopefully he will bring in a level of what we call, symbiosis in terms of really bringing back the focus on what needs to be done. A lot of the issues around energy, everyone is conflating them with non-electricity related. They talk about bringing in additional energy into the grid when the problem of electricity and load shedding today is a purely Eskom problem and relating to power plant projects that are currently offline.
Speaking of that, and to expand on what you speak of, on the focus on what needs to be done, he did mention that maintenance is our albatross and it's impacting on energy availability. Is this an understanding of what needs to be done at least?
Absolutely. Without that issue of maintenance, refurbishment, bringing back those units that are currently out, there is nothing else that, politicians will tell us that is going to make a difference. The only thing is to go back to the fundamentals. Fix what is currently being broken. There's about 21,000 megawatts of unavailable power plants, which is the units that are currently sitting. You fix that, even half of it, it gives you at least 10,000 megawatts, and you're back into operation. And without further ado, I fear the fact that the minister is going to do more of a talk show and a lot of really unnecessary hobnobbing in respect to consultation rather than bringing the solutions. The current problem is the solutions issue. It just needs to get back to the basic fundamentals, get to the power plants, resolve what is easily resolvable, bring in 1,000 megawatts at any time, within a week, within a month. Make sure you bring in another 1,000 megawatts, and you just gradually step it up without having to do fanfare, going all over the show, speaking to 1,000 people who are not even related to the problem and not going to the fundamental root core. What I struggle with the fact that is too many consultations. It's like too many cooks spoils the broth. In this case, there's going to be too many consultations without a single entry point. The minister would do himself a favor if he just called a national colloquium or even an international colloquium on Eskom. Get all the players, get all the people who are vocal, get the fundis, get the experts, get the analysts, get the pros and against, and as well as people who are supporting base load energy in terms of renewables energy, people who are into fossil fuel and alternatives. Bring them all under one umbrella on one day. And out of that, say, guys, we have this energy action plan, we have the IRP 2019, and we have this current energy crisis. What are the easy picks? Easy picks is bring back the current loss factor, which is the power plants that are units that are not working. On top of it, what can we do to please everyone? That's all that he needs to do. This whole business of talking all over the show and coming up with all other unrealistic options is not going to help. So it will be best to tell the minister to say hidden advice, call in a one sitting, let everybody sit under one umbrella, whether they like it or don't. And let's all talk about where can we take this country nationally to a one single point of its success. Right now, South Africa is falling apart due to energy crisis.
If it is that simple, Adil, then why has it not been done? Because there's also been suggestions of political interference at Eskom.
Absolutely, because of the whole discussion around the sidelines. Eskom, the power plants are sitting and nobody's talking to the power plants. Nobody's fixing them, nobody's maintaining them, nobody's providing the budget. And currently the energy unavailability factor right now is driven by the fact that the units are sitting. So the minute we stop talking, we get into action. Within weeks we can bring back current unavailable plants that are sitting idle right now, not working, not functioning. Talking about adding additional capacity to the grid is what we call a mid to long-term plan. It's not going to help with anything related to the energy crisis and the issue of load shedding and blackouts. Blackouts right now are sitting with the current plants that are in Eskom that are designed to actually generate electricity, transmit it as well as distribute it at a national level, at a grid scale level. So as I'm saying to you, that they will do themselves a huge job if Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa stops going all around and promising things that we know are unrealistic, but just going back into the fundamentals. One, give the nation and people in the energy space what they want. Their space to operate and open up the levers of all of the generators. Renewables, base load, fossil fuel, call in the energy suppliers on community level and everything, and say, guys, what can we do to help you fast track your programs? At the same time as government, our focus right now is to fix Eskom and get it to its functional level. Rather than driving one single agenda, right now, he's talking in riddles. He's talking about bringing in the just energy transition without understanding that it's a 20 to 50 year leg to reach that stage of full-on just energy, net zero carbon level achievements. To do that, focus on what needs to be done, repair the problem, and then get on to the major problems later on. They don't have time. 2024 is next year. Elections are happening by April, May, and by then the nation would have decided. If no electricity has been repaired in terms of ending load shedding, it's a disaster for the cabinet, and his ministry will be short-lived.
You spoke of the energy colloquium and the electricity minister in terms of his diary, making it known that on Thursday he will start with physical meetings with the chair of Eskom as well as business. He also spoke of having conversations at a station level and conversations at a unit level. Is this also an understanding of what needs to be done?
Absolutely. You know, station managers have been highly overlooked. We've been saying this for years. If they can be brought into the fore quickly, in order to get to the grips of the problem. And with this current dispensation where they are under the National Disaster Act, they could expedite releasing of resources like money required to actually give budget that is needed in order to bring back these units that are currently offline. And after that, you give targets to the power station managers. I want to see your power station efficiency above a threshold of 50. Currently, some of them are below the 50%, energy availability factor. You tell them that I want to push it over to this level. Problems that you have, give us the issues of what you require on budgeting, resources, and manpower. And then the rest of it, we then do the business of making sure that we collate those required resources. So the necessary key points of touching points are important. Power stations, sitting with the board, sitting with the current executive. Beyond that, call a national colloquium. Don't do a one-hopping situation where you're going to be sitting with each and every single individual and based on that, trying to find a solution. By the time that ends, I tell you, the crisis would have been exacerbated and load shedding would have not been ended. And I'm sending a cautionary warning to the minister to say, stop wasting your time thinking that with discussions along parallel lines with individuals, you're going to solve the problem. You want a one-stop solution, call a national conference called colloquium that would help everybody to sit under one umbrella. And they can all cover their interest and promise what they can add to the grid. The rest of it, focus on Eskom in bringing the energy availability factor to at least at the threshold of 70%. You would have done away with the current load shedding crisis that we are sitting with.
energy expert Adil Nchabeleng. Thank you very much for your thoughts this afternoon.